Okay. Well, Maryam, I will get us started. We have you here, and we initially would love to talk and just tell you a little bit about just like some initial introduction and some background about Reza. Who is he? What does he do? What does he enjoy? And then how long has he been in the U.S. and what brought him here?
Sure. Um, my brother Reza Zavvar came to US when he was only 12 years old. Um, he started middle school, seventh grade in Linton Hall School, which was a boarding school in Manassas, Virginia. Um, it was a military Catholic school. The reason my parents sent him there was that school was recommended by some family members as being a good school academically and because of the discipline. Um, After a year, it was difficult for him to be in that uh, school, boarding school. So my mom came here, and then my dad and I followed a couple of years after that. And We lived in Maryland since then. After he finished Linton Hall, he went to Walter Johnson High School and he played football. He likes football. That's what he likes. He played. Um, he had to stop playing football in high school because he injured his back and he couldn't continue playing football. Um, he enjoys, he's a dog lover. We both, Reza and I, are dog lovers. We got that from our dad. Um, so he enjoys spending time with his dog. Um, Duke is his latest love. Reza adopted him. He was abandoned at a dog park in Germantown, and Reza adopted him. And of course, you know um, that they're difficult uh, for adoption. Pit bull mixes. Nobody wants them. So he adopted Duke, and Duke is a sweetheart, and Reza loves him. Um, he enjoys spending time with family, especially my kids. Both my kids love him. Um, and as you guys know, he recently moved with my mom to help take care of my grandmother, my 94-year-old grandmother. He spends time playing golf. That's his new hobby because he's getting older and it's difficult for him to do other sports. So he enjoys playing golf with his co-workers, his friends. He spends time with his friends. He's loved by his friends, and uh, I know that because all of them are just you have no idea how supportive they are. They're doing everything they can to make sure Reza comes home soon. I call them Reza's angels. We have a group chat, and I give them updates frequently every time Reza calls. I let them know that he called. He's okay. He said hello to you guys. Um, he helps anybody he can. He's a cool guy. He never gets angry. He doesn't raise his voice, no matter how angry he gets. He always stays calm. He has a really big heart. He helps anybody he can. He likes reading. He's an avid reader. So sometimes we share things that we read, books, articles online. He studied psychology, and And we always talk about that, why people act the way they do. And, he's interested in child psychology. When my kids were younger, he gave me tips on how to deal with them and what to do and what not to do. And, we discuss those sometimes. And sometimes I criticize him that, you don't have any kids. So how do you know that? But I did, I always consider the advice he gave me. Um, he enjoys life. He enjoys little things. And he's always positive. He's not a negative person. He always see the good things in people, and he's always hopeful
Mm.
and understand people with different backgrounds, and um, tries to see the good in people, not bad. That's who he is in a nutshell.
God. Well, thank you for sharing that, Maryam. I mean, he sounds like a wonderful man. I hope to meet him when he's free, soon, hopefully. And we can you tell me a little more, I guess, about just his status, his immigration status? I know you said he'd been here since he was 12. At the time, um, when he was taken, had he, um, what was his status? What was his situation? What do you think triggered them targeting him, other than, or if it was just him being Iranian?
I can't say for sure um what was what the reason was for him being targeted. His status, he had withholding from removal, so he's in U.S. legally. Um, he's not supposed to be deported, and he obtained that status in 2007, and he does not have a criminal record for being deported. That is, according to his lawyer, it's on his file that he has no criminal record. Um, but what I was told that the new administration uh, goes after people with TPS or withholding from removal and tries to send them to a third country. So their argument is that, okay, we're not sending him to Iran, and we don't want him to stay in US. Therefore, the order was we're gonna either send him to Romania or Australia, which was a surprise to all of us. We have nobody in those countries, um, and I'm not sure how he can survive in either of these countries. Um, and what I asked his lawyer, was that, do you know if these two countries take deportees from US? She said, I don't know. And she's been doing this for the past 25 years. She said, this is the first time I'm seeing this. I have not seen this situation for the past 25 years. I'm not sure how to answer your question. I really don't have an answer for that. So that added to our anxiety. Um, if he's not, if they're going to deport him to any of these countries, we don't know what would happen to him. Are they going to put him in jail in those countries? Are they going to send him somewhere else? We don't know. There are no details on that. So um, that's really frightening for, especially for my mother and for myself and for the rest of the family and his friends. It's really, really frightening.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Especially, when your attorney herself hasn't really a clue as to how this is working because really hasn't been done before because this is quite out of the ordinary. I want to pivot to the actual arrest and ask you, from your perspective, what happened when Reza was arrested? Can you walk us through what took place and how did you and your family learn about the news?
It was the morning of June 28th. It was a Saturday morning. As usual, he was at my mom's place. Um, he took Duke, his dog, for his morning walk. And after a while, there was a knock on the door. My mom answered the door. She saw two men in uniform with Duke at the door. And she said the officers asked her, "Is this your dog?" That's the only thing they said. And the first thing that came to my mom's mind was that Reza was hit by a car and he's dead or in a really bad condition. And they're bringing the dog home. She said, "This is my son's dog. Where's my son?" And they repeated the question, "Is this your dog? Can you can you take him?" Um, my mom took the leash and asked them, "Where's my son?" They did not answer. She asked again, "Where's my son?" And they said, "Is he okay? Was he hit by a car?" And they said, "No, we have him." And I think at that moment, my mom was shaking, and so luckily she was about to fall, and my uncle was behind her, um, and he helped her stand. And they said, "He's fine. We have him." And I guess at that moment, my mom figured what was happening because, of course, we see it in the news that ICE is arresting people. Um, she asked them, "Can I call him on his cell phone?" They said, "No, we have his cell phone." Um, what my mom told me was that they spoke to her in a very cold and rude manner. Um, and they just left. That's it.
So when they were saying we have him, there was no follow-up, no details as to, we have arrested him and brought him into ICE custody specifically because of XYZ reason. So the only reason your mother was able to, put the pieces together is because of just external information and nothing that was directly said to her from the agents. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes, no, they did not give reasons. They did not provide any information, no details. My mom asked, "How can I contact him?" They said, "You can't, he will call you." And that's all they said. That's it. And they left.
Well, that leads me to my next question, which is, do you guys have any information as to where Reza is now, and have you been able to get in touch with him?
Yes, he called later from a detention facility in Baltimore. He was there for about 3 to 4 days. And after that, we hired a lawyer immediately. So this happened on Saturday. On Sunday, we had a lawyer. We contacted a lawyer. On Monday, I was at her office, and she was hired and immediately started working on his case while he was still in Baltimore. Um, she filed an injunction for deportation that same night, and the judge ordered uh, that he cannot be um, deported, injunction on deportation, and also the judge said that you cannot move him from the state of Maryland, but unfortunately, um, they did not follow the judge's order. And the next day, he was moved to Port Isabel, a detention facility in Texas. And he's been there since there. He calls us every day. I talk to him my mom and I talk to him on a daily basis.
And is he able to tell you, has he been able to, disclose any of the details as to the conditions under which he was being held in the Baltimore facility and now the Texas facility? Anything, any description he provided?
Yes, the Baltimore facility was absolutely horrible. My uncle drove there to give him some clothes because he was cold. He was in his shorts and t-shirts when he was walking Duke. So when he called, he said, "Can you bring some clothes for me? I'm cold." Um, they did not allow us to deliver the clothes to him. They had 20 of them in a cell. There was one bathroom for them, and they slept on the floor. They gave them, I guess, some bedding, maybe a blanket to sleep on the floor. He said it was horrible. He couldn't take a shower, so it was bad. Um, Port Isabel in Texas is a better facility. Of course, that facility in Baltimore wasn't. Is there for 3.5 days. The conditions at Port Isabel is not good either. He says that the lights are always on. It's always bright. It's very noisy. He can't sleep at night. The bathrooms are not private, they're open. They don't refill the soap dispensers. He said last time it took 3 days for them to refill the soap dispensers, and that was after he said that he was going to complain and talk to the inspectors. Apparently, there were inspectors coming to the facility. He said something very disturbing today. That he said there are feces everywhere. They don't provide enough cleaning tools, so people they have inmates clean the plates, detainees, and they have to use the same brush for the toilet to clean the showers. And every time he complains to the officers, they say, "Oh, okay, no, we're bringing soap," and the detainees are responsible for giving food, and there was no soap to wash their hands. And instead of providing soap, they blamed the detainees, and they said this is their culture, they're not clean, instead of providing soap for them to wash their hands. He complains about the condition, about the hygienic conditions, and he said, "I'm afraid I'm going to get sick because there's no soap to wash your hands, and people who give me my food, they have dirty hands, and I'm afraid I'm going to get sick." And their answer was that that's why we have a nurse here. It's very disturbing. The things he told me was just so disturbing. I can't imagine. Nobody deserves to be held in that condition, in those conditions. It's just horrible.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely at a loss for words as to how that's been described. I'm so sorry to hear that. That's
He
unimaginable.
asked me. It's bad. It's beyond bad. He asked me to tell anybody I can to tell reporters and just echo this through all sorts of media because this is not a good condition. Again, nobody deserves to be treated like that.
Absolutely not. And I know you mentioned a little bit about how the proceedings have gone with your attorney and the injunction that was granted, but has not been respected by ICE. Obviously, you've been working with your attorney and taking this to the judge. Has there been any official response from ICE, either, within the court context or to you and your family directly as to just any plain explanation they can provide as to what is going on, any, update they can give, or are you really just relying on being able to talk to Reza at least once a day? Do they provide, like I said, any documentation about why he was arrested?
No, we no, they even didn't tell him anything. That up to this point, nobody has talked to him directly. Um, they answered. The Department of Homeland Security came back and answered, and they said That's when we found out he is to be deported to Romania or Australia because he is a criminal, which the his file says he's not. And in that report, in that response, they said that he was provided with the documents, but he refused to sign them. This is incorrect. Nobody gave him any documents to sign. That's completely false.
Mhm. Yeah, that's horrifying. I want to ask now, you know, obviously there's several members of your family that are dealing with this firsthand, but as a sister, I want to ask you, how has this affected you personally?
It's it's affected me, my husband, my kids. Um, I I can't sleep. I get headaches. Um, I get stomach ache. I try to be brave, and I'm trying to be strong because I have to fight for him, but it's really, really difficult. I have nightmares every single night. I fall asleep for an hour or two. I get up again. I fall asleep. I have these nightmares. I wake up, then I can't fall back asleep. It's horrible. We're
Yeah.
devastated. It affects my work. Um, I can't concentrate. Um, right now, I'm in Europe on a business trip, and my phone is on in every meeting that I attend. I have to say, at the beginning of the meeting, I apologize and I say, I have a family emergency. Um, if my phone rings, I have to pick it up. I apologize for that. And it has, um, if the phone rings, I pick it up. I can't concentrate on work. And to be honest with you, I'm responsible for people who work for our company. So that adds more stress
Yeah.
because I have to make sure things go well because our employees depend on us, and I have to make sure that the company runs. I can't concentrate on work at this point.
Yeah, it's way too much to be juggling under such dire circumstances. I want to ask as well before I pivot back to Eton.
Mm.
Obviously, you mentioned that your brother has no criminal record, um, and you gave us a bit of a background, on when he came here um, and such. I wanted to ask though, do you feel like your brother was specifically targeted because, of his, uh, because he was born in Iran?
I don't know the answer. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to tell when you don't really have anything to go off of from as I mean from what you've described, absolutely zero communication from ICE when it comes to, talking to you, his family, or even talking to Reza in the facilities that he's being held at. So that's very fair. I'll pass it back to you, Eton, to close us out.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Miriam, I think we asked that because from our vantage point, we're seeing case after case of people who really don't seem to be doing anything wrong, who are fully cooperating in their process, who are showing up to their interviews, who are working, who are paying taxes, who have families here, who are married to Americans, who have children, all sorts of cases. And I think it's very unfortunate to have the need to do this, but we have to play the role. And thank you for sitting down with us in this of just the basic role of humanizing the Iranian identity, which has been, to our vantage point, it seems is being criminalized. And Iranian immigrants, Iranian non-citizens, students, people who are refugees, asylum seekers here, people who are, and now naturalized citizens are scared. Um, People who are in processing are scared. So I go on to ask, I guess, what do you, from your vantage point, what do you think? Do you think people get wrong about Iranian immigrants, Iranian immigrant families right now, in this moment?
Um, I'm not sure how to answer that question. I'd like to add one more thing that I forgot to mention. When he was arrested and taken to that facility in Baltimore, they asked him, these are the only things that they asked him, are you have any ties to any groups in Iran? Are you working with any organizations? So they asked these questions and he said, absolutely not. You have my phone. Go ahead and look through it. I have no ties to any groups. I'm not in contact with any organization or anybody in Iran. I was 12 when I came here. And to be honest with you, he's just a pure American boy. He watches football. He played football in high school. His Farsi is not even good. um, he can't really write, and he has a difficult time reading. He speaks, of course, mixed with English, but he's not even fluent in Farsi. Um, to answer your question about how we're being viewed as Iranians in US, um, I always hear from friends and neighbors, everybody, co-workers, they have a positive opinion on about Iranians, and they always compliment us about being kind, helpful. Everybody loves Persian food. They appreciate Persian rugs, and they like the music and the arts. And a lot of Americans say that we would love to travel to Iran to see this ancient country. Uh, Hopefully, when the situation changes, for Americans to visit. Um, but I've always heard nice things from neighbors and friends and colleagues.
Well, thank you. That's how a lot of us feel about the situation. And I know we've been on for a while, Maryam. So I guess I'll ask one last question. What is there anything that people that are concerned about Reza can do to support him right now? We've put together a call script and an action alert. I know there's already another change petition. I know that there's the GoFundMe. But tell us what people can do to support him right now, and what would it mean to get him free for you?
We just want him home. My grandmother has anxiety. She asked a few times about Reza. Where is Reza? Why isn't he coming home? And my mom keeps telling her, he's on a business trip. He'll come home. He'll come home. She's getting anxious. She knows something's going on. She gets up in the middle of the night and starts walking around and calls him. Or every time she hears the door, she asks, is this Reza? Is Reza coming home? But we just want him to come home. My mom has lost so much weight. I'm afraid, I'm worried about Reza, but as a mother, I know how difficult it is to have your son in that condition. I'm a mother myself. I have two kids. And I'm really, really worried about my mom. I'm afraid she may not be able to handle this. She has anxiety attacks. She's on 2 different medications. She has ups and downs, and sometimes she just collapses. She goes, she's just, she's tiny now. She's lost a lot of weight. I had never seen her this tiny. She can't keep food. We just want Reza home for my mom's sake, for my grandma's sake. He hasn't done anything. He's no threat to national security. He hasn't done anything bad, or he's just the sweetest guy you can imagine. He works for a company that hires people for government positions. He's responsible for interviewing people, doing background checks to make sure the people they hire for government positions are qualified to work for our government. And he's in a detention center in Texas. This is not fair. He shouldn't be there. He should not be there. He shouldn't be treated like that. No, again, nobody should be treated like that. Nobody should be in a condition like that. Feces everywhere. That is absolutely horrible. It's just unimaginable. I don't know why. Why? What good can come out of that? How is this benefiting our country, our society? Our society, our community needs Reza back. He needs to come home. Everybody is waiting for him. All our neighbors are worried. They come to my mom's house for support. I'm so thankful for having so many supportive people around us. We need him to come home. I'm asking everybody to call their representatives, their senators, anybody, just call them and ask them to do something for him to come home. I'm asking the members of Congress and our senators, please do something for Reza. Please help us get him home. He is not supposed to be there.
Okay. I agree. So hard. Thank you so much, Maryam. I think we can cut it there, the recording. Let you have a break.